Hello everybody, I am Darshan and I'm looking forward very much to explore Ananda's early years, and I should say Ananda's golden essence, together with Jayadev Jaerschky, who is a minister of Ananda, a light bearer of Ananda. He is also a Kriyacharya, one who has been authorized and blessed to give initiation into the sacred science and art of Kriya Yoga. He is the founder of the Ananda Yoga School, where every year tens of teachers, new teachers, yoga teachers are born. And most of all, he is an Ananda pioneer. Really, Ananda is a constant becoming. It's always new. But we have found that it is very helpful, very precious also for people to know about its early beginnings. So I would like to start not just with the early beginnings of Ananda, but with your early beginnings in this life. Can you tell us something about how you found out when you came onto this path? It may have happened when you were 5, when you were 12. Can you share a little bit about that with us?
I was a Hatha Yoga student and had a very good teacher. But in time, it became too superficial. I wanted deeper things. And so I said goodbye to my actually wonderful teacher. And she said, you will be interested in this book. And it was a book of another disciple of Paramahansa Yogananda. He's called Roy Eugene Davis. And I dived into that book. And through that, I found Yogananda, and I found out that in my parents' house, there was the autobiography of a yogi, which I didn't know, and I read it, and that opened to me something that I wanted to deepen. I went to India, and I wanted to be on the footsteps of Yogananda, and there in India, I met 2 ladies. They were very sensitive ladies, and they told me, you have exactly the frequency, the wavelength of Ananda people. We have just visited Ananda, and that's just your same energy. And I didn't know, what is Ananda? What is Swami Kriyananda, the founder? Nothing. And so I came back from India, and I came to visit Ananda, and it was the most amazing experience, because really, maybe we have all heard seen people, we meet people for the first time and we have a feeling, oh, I know you. And that happened to me with many people who were there. As if hey, Helmut and Maya Devi, I know you. Vairagi, she's not around anymore, another word. I know you. Kirtani, and all these people, I know you. And that was just, I felt, hey, that is my family. I can't believe it. And so I came here to Ananda in 1989, actually.
Before that, you were in Germany. You were born and raised in Germany, right?
I was born and raised in Germany, yeah. And traveled a lot, but yeah, that was where I came from.
And let's go a little bit to your timeline. So how old were you more or less when you read that book by Roy Eugene Davis?
That was maybe when I was 18, something like that.
And the autobiography?
And the autobiography maybe a little bit later, maybe 19 or something.
Okay. And then when you met Swami Kriyananda first time?
That was extremely special. Back then, he came to Ananda only for a few weeks every year. That was way before him living here. And I was a very intellectual boy. And I was raised an atheist, actually. And I had studied all the philosophers, because the atheist people in school, we studied philosophy. And so I knew all the philosophers. And I read Swami Kriyananda's book, and I was quite impressed. The New Path, back then it was called The Path. And I was quite impressed. But still, I was very German. And for the Germans, authenticity is very important. And I wanted to check out if Swami Kriyananda is authentic, and I asked him. There was a satsang, and I asked him, question after question. What do you mean was this? What is this? What is this? There was an Indian by chance there, and the Indian afterwards told me, in India we would never talk to a spiritual teacher. So much doubting. And Swami Kriyananda was so amazing. I was absolutely newcomer green, and with all my questions and important thoughts, and he received me so respectfully, and so he answered all of my questions very sincerely. I felt he is really authentic, and he is very dear. He is very near and dear. It was just absolutely wonderful. And then in time, he became sort of a spiritual father for me.
So this need for authenticity, which in itself is a good thing, of course, how did you deal with that while you were reading the autobiography for the first time? When you have on page 2 or on page 3, Lahiri Mahashaya, who materializes in another place to interfere for one of his employees.
When I read the autobiography of Yogi, actually, I don't know why I was very skeptical person and critical, also unfortunately critical person. And authenticity is really absolutely base of everything. And when I read, however, the autobiography of Yogi, I felt this is authentic, this is true. I didn't doubt any of it, even though these things materializing himself here and levitating there and all these things, are so out of it. What I did feel is, oh my God, this is a little too high for me. And that was something that slowly I had to overcome. I thought these high spiritual things are a little too elevated for me. So I felt, my goodness, what he's talking about, the cosmic consciousness and everything. But slowly, yeah.
Could it be compared, Jayadev, to music? So music bypasses the rational mind. You are also a very active and gifted musician. And so the book came to you and it sort of bypassed your rational mind and it did touch your heart. Could that be a good comparison?
I think that's an absolutely good comparison. It was because my mind, it was a very skeptical and critical and so on mind. And just like music, you're totally right. What came to me just took me and touched me, and I didn't doubt anything of it.
So let's go back to the first time at Ananda, you met Swami, you asked him many questions. You had read his autobiography, The Path, now called The New Path. And had you already been in touch with his music?
Actually, I was, because the choir, before I came to Ananda, the Ananda choir came to Germany, and I listened to them, to the music. But music was always important for me, of course. But it was, even there, it was the music certainly, but what I felt from him and from the people was what really made me feel that is good.
That came first.
Yes.
Yes, Swami Kriyananda said about the Ananda family, this is a very old family, meaning dating back to other lifetimes. And so it seems that your experience, what you experienced, confirms this for you personally.
Yes. And I met one lady, she's not here anymore, but we felt instantly we were married. I mean, we knew each other so well, and we were both single, but we didn't feel that relationship was, intimate relationship was anything, but it was just, I know you, you know me, and we know each other deeply, and with others as well, in the good and also in the difficult way.
Okay, let's talk about both, because Ananda, the spiritual path is not for sissies. I like that aphorism. I think it comes from Swami Asha. But so let's talk a little bit about when you had a difficult time with people, in your relating to people, and what you did to overcome it.
Okay, I will tell you my toughest situation. In general, I wasn't an easy boy. I can tell you that for sure. But there was, when I first came here, there was a couple leading the community, Ram and Diana, black people, absolutely wonderful people. And I saw Diana, especially her, and I saw her, elevated. I really felt there was light coming from her. These were experiences I've never had before. I still see it. She went up some stairs and there was a light around her, and everything that came from her was so elevating. And Ram, was such a Shakti man, and wow. And after a year, they left, and
After 1 year.
After 1 year that I was here, a new director came. And that was, I knew from the beginning, I saw him from afar and said, oh God, this is going to be totally difficult. Oh no, I know this. And it was like that. And we both behaved, I would say, very badly, like you never behave in Ananda. We really were aggressive to each other. And we even raised our voices. I'm not a person who easily raises my voice or so, but even then I was much more immature. But that was so amazing. He just touched all my buttons and I did to him. And it was clashing. And I came very close to leaving Ananda. And that's a little bit a longer story because Swami Kriyananda saved me.
What was the most important, most essential input that he gave you to transcend that situation?
Well, Swami Kriyananda, basically he told me it was the most amazing experience of love of my life. I cannot tell you. I have read that love is a power. It's not something sweet. And I sat in front of Swami just like we sit before. He made me come to his apartment. He lived in the Rifugio, for those who know it. But he had me come to his apartment and we sat in front of each other. And I had just fought with this, director.
This old friend.
This old friend. And he came to me, and what I experienced was such an amazing thing. It was love in power, love of the cosmos. And it was like, boom. And it hit me. I was going up to Swami Kriyananda, like all tense, because I thought he will scold me. I'd behave badly with this man. This man is his representative. And I was all tensed. And what I felt was so amazing. Never, ever experienced anything. It was like love. Boom. And I was like a little sheep. I was totally disarmed. And I was just bathing in this amazing, cosmic, powerful love. And then the message that Swami Kriyananda gave me was this. I was a very critical person. And he told me, I want you to think for yourself. We do not want yes men at Ananda. But be careful of negativity. Because your mind tends to be negativity, to go into negativity. And if you don't stop it, he said, it will create a momentum. And that momentum, if you don't stop it, will spin you right out of Ananda. And I do not think that this is what your soul wants. And he went on to tell me about a disciple of Paramahansa Yogananda, where exactly that happened. He got into criticism, into negativity. He didn't stop it, and it spun him out. And he said, I don't think that your soul wants that. And so he talked with me, and then in the end, he said, it's time to go now. The exit door was just behind me. It was so amazing. I just couldn't turn away from him and from it. I stood up and walked like we do in Kriya Initiation. Yeah. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I walked back. I couldn't turn away. And then I walked backward and took the door like this and opened. And then out there were steps going down. I said, I won't be stupid enough to let myself spin out of it. And I worked on my negativity and also aggression and all this thing. And that director also worked on it. And we worked on our relationship. And in time, we resolved it, actually. And we could, in time, we said, I love you to each other, which was a major victory. I mean, we really strongly disliked each other. And just to dissolve it and respect each other and even say to each other, I love you, that was major.
Such a powerful story. Thank you for sharing that. I would like to also come back to the music a little bit. We stopped there. So your first hard contact was with the people and then Swami. How did your relationship to Swami's music develop over the years, and what does it mean to you even now?
Okay. So it is very important, and even I played guitar and music before coming to Ananda. I chanted. Not I didn't chant. I sang all these pop songs and all these things. And when Swami was not here, he lived somewhere else. I wrote him a letter, and I still have it. And I used to be very intellectual and very philosophical, and all these things that I said, extremely in the mind. And he told me by letter.
This was before you actually met him.
And that was before I met him, yes. And he said, it was so beautiful, because he said, your letter is full of light. And he said, it would be a good thing for you to sing in the choir of Ananda.
In those early days, there was already a choir?
There was already a choir, a small choir. And so back then, Gitanjali, who also did one of these interviews, directed it. And so I was invited into the choir. And because he said that, I became one of the main kirtan people here. And every week, it was me for years and years and years to play kirtan and sing in the choir. And I have had experience with music and with singing, both in the choir and in chanting with the group. That is amazing to describe. Sometimes I think, oh God, I shouldn't tell it to people, but sometimes with music, God seems closer than in meditation. So I sang sometimes, and we sang also with Swami, but also without Swami Kriyananda, the music. There is something forming in the air, something magic and something holy. And also when I chant with people, and the people really chant from the heart, it's like it pulls the divine presence down. It has a real spiritual power that I must say sometimes I felt it in chanting and in music in a way that I haven't felt it in meditation. That's a little bit unorthodox to say, maybe, because our path is very much meditation.
Chanting is half the battle.
Chanting is half the battle, but it is so beautiful to chant and people really chanting from the heart, and suddenly there is that magic in the air. And that was something that I really, really needed to learn. The heart is pulling the divine presence. I believe really it's the heart that brings God down, and singing, you are just using your heart, and God responds to the heart. And maybe I would have the same experience in meditation if that same heart was there, but singing and music is just the heart experience, and God responds. It is very important for me, the whole thing.
Thank you for sharing that. So, which of Swami's musical pieces, do you have the most intense relationship with? And now we're talking about, not about the kirtan part, but about the music itself. Because you've been singing in this choir for decades by now, and you know so much of his music. Which one do you find most important for your own intimate spirit?
where I had the most beautiful and uplifting and, let's say, astral experiences is actually with the oratorio. When we sang the oratorio on Christ's life sometimes, and especially with the Thy Light Within Us Shining, we sing it and it's sort of an opening door to light that is coming down. I can't know how to explain it better, but when we chant, when we sing this together, it can be very magic, yes.
Which is interesting because your vibration, let's say, your natural attunement seems to be more Indian.
That's true.
Plus, you come from an atheist family, and now you're singing in an oratorium all about Christ. So how do you relate to Christ? How did that come to you?
The whole thing with Christ and Jesus, it was this path that Yogananda and this path that opened me up to Christ. But I have a very special relationship to Christ. It is true that I'm much more tuned into the yogic and Eastern and Indian side of it. But I see Jesus, as Yogananda tells us, he was a real yogi and he lived a major part of his life in India. And he brought actually from India to his apostles Kriya Yoga or something very similar. And with all this, I can totally relate that powerful avatar and yogi.
And the music helped with that, of course.
And the music totally helped with that. I mean, the chanting and the choir, it just brings him closer. I never had any relationship with Christ before. And through this path and the music and the vibration and what Yogananda brings, Christ became real and beautiful for me. And yeah.
Thank you. So Swami Kriyananda describes different tools of maturity. He speaks about the body as a tool to become mature, about the feeling, the heart, about the willpower, and about the intellect. And I see pretty much all of that because you are, of course, also a Hatha yogi. You are a musician, okay? You seem to be a rather austere type of person. And then, number 4, you're also a writer. So you have all those 4 tools together. Which of those 4 tools has become the most important to you for your own spiritual growth? Devotion, intellect, willpower, or body?
So I came totally from the intellectual world, but
you were already doing yoga.
And I was already doing yoga, and I was always a person who needed physically to do some.
Did you do sport?
I was a sportive person. I was running, and I was long distance, and I was a fast runner, and I was a soccer player. Always sportive, sort of a thing.
So physical discipline was there already even before?
Even before, and I have seen that also in the students who come here. If people have done very little physical things before and then don't do much physical work here at Ananda, the effect is maybe not as bad as people who were very physical and suddenly don't do anything physical anymore. And then the body sort of drops. And I think for me it's the same. My body just can't not do anything. But this is not the most important thing at all. Most important thing was my journey from the intellect into the heart. For me, absolutely the most important, where Swami Kriyananda directed me, was to the heart, to devotion, to understanding people, to relate to people. I was very austere, as you said, and very hermit kind of a person. But I needed to open my heart to people. My whole relationship to God needed to be in the heart, not in the head. And here in Ananda, living with people, also my horoscope says that's what I need to learn, embrace people, while naturally I would pull back, sort of a thing. And so Swami Kriyananda told me, sing in the choir, sing because the heart. And I can't imagine spiritual life without heart anymore. So, I mean, this is also dry. Intellectual people are very satisfied with definitions, but it's once we get into the heart, it's just all so much more beautiful and deep and blessed and graceful and everything.
We'll talk about your writing a little bit later. I'd like to go on again about the heart, because it's so important. So we've spoken about music, we've spoken about devotion, and you mentioned also relationship, like to the community, and marriage. You're also a married man. How does that relate to your own spiritual growth?
And that was so important. You know, I could be very happy by myself and everything.
You could have been a hermit.
I could right now be a hermit without thinking twice about it, but it's not my growth. And I was so afraid of marriage. For years and years, I wasn't able to say yes to marriage because I was really afraid. Swami Kriyananda brought me in this direction. I needed a little miracle, actually, to get married. That's another story I had.
Want to tell us the story?
Okay, no, I thought it's maybe too long.
It might help people.
Okay. Basically, I was always in this situation with my wife, Sahaja. Yes, no, because there was so much fear. Yes, no.
From both sides or more from you?
From my side. And then we were in India, and we always go when we are on pilgrimages to a very saintly lady in Rishikesh, and she's called Vanamali Devi. She's a Krishna devotee and highly evolved, I would say. And suddenly, the two of us were with her by ourselves. There was one other devotee there. And suddenly
Excuse me, were you guiding a pilgrimage group?
Yes, okay. It was afterwards.
And Sahaja and you were not yet married?
No,
you were just co-guiding?
Co-guiding, and we were not married, and we were in a relationship, but I could never, commit to say yes. And suddenly, that lady stood up and did all kinds of mantras and lit a fire between us. And she had garlands there, she put it over us, and we walked around the fire. And I didn't know it, but these were all the elements of a ceremony of marriage, wedding ceremony.
And she didn't ask anything, it just happened.
It just happened. And she said, I have never done this in my life, before or after. It just happened through her, she said. It just occurred. And in the end, she said, by the Indian law, you two are married now. And I was shocked, and I got pale. And that was the push that I really needed to get over that fear. But spiritually, you ask, I really needed it. I needed to relate to people, understand people, relate to a specific person, my wife. She's teaching me a lot of things. Really also communication.
And Jayadev, interesting, your wife's name is Sahaja. What does Sahaja mean?
Sahaja means easy and natural.
Authenticity.
Authenticity. She is very authentic. Many people maybe who listen to this will maybe know her, but what people love in her teaching, she is absolutely herself, and she doesn't put herself, on a pedestal. And she is who is with all her troubles and all her normalcies and inner struggles, and says, this is what I learned to do, try this. This is what the masters teach, try this. And this is what is so important for me. It's not, I am putting myself up here. Neither do I. I hope so. I mean, we are just both who we are and help each other. The beautiful thing is we really try to help each other, and that was great. And also in community,
I guess when you're a hermit by nature, who knows how many lifetimes you've spent alone, the hardest thing when you then go into not only just relationship but community life is the emotions, right? The arena of emotions that you have to deal with, mostly in other people. So how have you developed that capacity? Of course, it came also through your counseling, ministerial activities, but can you say something about that?
And that was a major thing that I had to learn, also with my wife, because she's a very emotional, very intelligent, but also very emotional person, how to deal with this. And I used to just say, this is no good, and let me go away.
Because it's not good written in paper, it's not good to be emotional.
Emotional, so it's not good. And so I couldn't face it also, and I just went off, or I judged it and so on. And I've learned so much with her and with Ananda. I mean, people are who they are. Somebody breaks down, somebody gets angry. Not the end of the world, the person is something different from that anger. And I can now really much better handle if somebody freaks out or is emotional or negative or so. I was negative myself. So.
You seem to have overcome the carping spirit, right? Can you say something about Krishna to thee who has overcome the carping spirit?
I'm maybe have traces still on it, but I have made good progress, let's say.
You're dedicated to overcoming it.
I'm totally dedicated to overcoming it, and when it comes up, I just don't want it. Critical mind and carping mind. This is no good at all. And so if it comes up, this old stuff, I just work on it. It's just nothing that I want anymore.
Thank you. So let's talk about now your writer's activity, and which is intellectual, of course, because you need a clear mind for that. But it's, in your case, you only write about strictly spiritual subjects, obviously. How did that develop? How did it where did it originate, and how did it develop?
Unfortunately, I'm able to say here that I felt like writing, and I asked Swami Kriyananda. Back then, we all asked Swami Kriyananda. We didn't, for example, get into marriage or not even partnership without Swami Kriyananda asking, is that a good thing? And if not. Sahaja and I ask. And also with writing and with teaching yoga, I always ask. And he said to me, I write seminally so that others can pick up these seeds and expand on it. Yes, please write whatever you want. And then my first book, which was a very simple book on yoga therapy, something like that, how yoga can help you physically, just to try out the waters. And I gave it the manuscript to Nadia, who was very close to Swami Kriyananda. I was a little close also, but not as close. And I asked him, can you give it to Swami to say if that's okay, what I'm writing?
Was it in English or in Italian?
I always write in English, much easier for me. And then Sahaja translates my books. Also back then, I believe already. And so Swami Kriyananda said something very beautiful. He said, I don't need to read it. I trust in Jayadev. And if somebody trusts in you, you automatically feel, I can, disillusion him. And I try to do my very best to write good.
Yeah. So 2 questions. So Swami Kriyananda, of course, has also written a lot. Which of his books do you hold most dear? And which of your own books do you hold most dear?
So the book that has really touched me most was the first book I read. It's The Path, or The New Path, because it brings Yogananda so close. And when I read it, actually, I said, if I would write, I would like to write in that style. And it's sort of my dearest book still today. I have read, of course, all his books and again and again and again, but The New Path is the book I hold as the book I
hold most dear.
I hold most dear. And of my own books, many books, to be really honest, I don't hold to be that important, but one that I've really gotten a lot of good feedback and I'm happy I wrote, it's called Kriya Yoga. And it's sort of an introduction into Kriya Yoga, and it has helped people a lot.
So I was going to talk also about Ananda Yoga, but since you mentioned Kriya, let's first go there. Mm-hmm. So can you say something about how that came to you in the beginning, how it evolved, and how eventually you also were blessed as a Kriyacharya?
So you're not talking about the book, but Kriya itself.
Well, yeah, because you mentioned that book as being also one that was important for you and for other people. So, and I was going to ask you about Kriya Yoga. Yeah. So we can talk about, you can also involve the book in your story, of course.
That also I asked Swami Kriyananda, actually. Narayani, his caretaker, asked for me, that seems a little very high book. Is it okay to write for Jayadev? And he said he should try, he should do that. And so the Kriya Yoga was, of course, the center and is still the center. I'm an Ananda Yoga teacher, but my life turns around Kriya Yoga. Ananda Yoga is simply a way to prepare people, and some of them go toward Kriya Yoga. But in my own life, my main practice, my main everything is Kriya Yoga. And it has caught my attention from the first time. Of course, when I read Autobiography of a Yogi, I was initiated by Swami Kriyananda, and I had a most amazing experience in my first Kriya Initiation. I don't know if you want me to talk about it.
Please.
And it taught me about who Swami Kriyananda is, because Swami Kriyananda always, presented himself like a normal gentleman, normal person, and he wanted to be that. But I had several experiences where I just saw he's not a normal yogi. And one was that initiation. And it was in the retreat house over there. The temple was there back then. And in Kriya Initiation, it happens that the Kriyacharya, which was him, sits inside, and all the people gather outside, and we were all in silence. And I felt like a power expanding and involving us all. And it was so strong and dense, and I thought, what is this? And then in that energy, we entered in it. And sometimes you can get into your own fantasy and think, is that real? And my friend Shantidev, who also did interview, maybe he told the story, I don't know. Because I told him, did you feel that? And he said it was dense as if you could cut it. And later I understood that something like this is only possible if Kundalini is awakened. You cannot project a power like that out by your will if you don't have a massive power inside. And I felt Swami Kriyananda behind that normal gentleman that you feel also when he talks, jokes. There was a major, major yogi, and who, if he decided to, he could just work with powerful energy, which was really amazing. So that was my first Kriya initiation that he gave me, and I understood relatively little, I would say. I think most Kriya yogis understand relatively little in the beginning. And still today, my main focus is to get deeper into Kriya Yoga. And the funny thing is, when I discover things, Swami Kriyananda has taught it, and I've just not heard it before. But he was there. I can be specific a little bit. I discovered in time that you actually need to go inside the spine. I've never done that in my life for many, many, many years. But then I discovered it, and I hear Swami Kriyananda talking and read that he says, this is how it needs to be done. But it never clicked, and then it clicks, and it's just ongoing. It's ongoing, trying to go deep in Kriya, and that's my main focus, even today.
We learn things when we're ready for them, right?
That's it. Before they said it, but I didn't get it, or just didn't get it.
So 2 more about becoming Kriyacharya, and then about how you wrote the book about Kriya Yoga. Can you tell something first about when you were authorized to give Kriya initiation?
So there was a time before Swami left, and Swami Kriyananda said to Kirtani, and Kirtani told me, I'm thinking about making Jayadev a Kriyacharya. But unfortunately, for some reason, it didn't happen in Swami Kriyananda's lifetime. And so I became a Kriyacharya. I still have photo by Kirtani, and Kirtani said, Swami blessed, actually there were several of us in that moment.
I was present.
You were present. And all of the people who became Kriyacharya were agreed with by Swami Kriyananda somehow. And so that was very important for me. And so Kirtani blessed me as a Kriyacharya, and that just means for me that I try to become a better channel and a less of ego, more of a channel for the masters, for Swami, for what I have received to give on. And I was very fortunate. I asked Swami Kriyananda in my life many, many questions. And one was about Kriya Yoga teaching. And I wasn't a Kriyacharya, but of course in our classes we talk about Kriya. And this is very personal. You know, we all have different things that inspire us in Kriya. If you talk with Anand, or if you talk with Kirtani, or Shivani, or Mayadevi, it can be very different. And there was something that didn't inspire me very much. I'm not even sure if I should specify because I don't want to.
No, you can say it.
I can say it? Okay. There was much talk about in Kriya that it burns karma. And for me personally, it's certainly truth, and but it never inspired me. It didn't inspire me to go deep. There's all my karma inside. I don't want to get there. It sort of didn't inspire me, and that's me. And I asked Swami Kriyananda, Swamiji, can I concentrate on the bliss aspect, which Master talks about, he speaks about in his talk, Kriya. This is something that makes my heart beat, that I can speak authentically. With the karma thing, I can say it as a teaching, and it's certainly true, the fire ceremony, inner fire ceremony and all. But it's just not something that I can give to others with my heart. And he said, yes, you can concentrate on the bliss aspect. And so this is what I do as a Kriyacharya and a Kriya teacher, while others have that fire around karma, and it's wonderful. You purify yourself of your past. I totally know it's beautiful. But I always go toward, all the joy quotes of Swami Kriyananda and all the bliss teachings of Kriya that Yogananda, you find 1,000 things about it.
I think it's getting a little later, but I still want to ask you one thing about Ananda Yoga. So at a certain point, it's sort of like it just happened. You founded a teacher's training school, and it's an important school, and every year many people get their diploma and everything. How did it happen? Mm-hmm. And give me the essence of Ananda Yoga in one sentence.
Okay. How did it happen? It needed to happen. It was happening in America, and Jayadev had the main teacher there told me, you should do it. I never felt ready for it, but then it just needed to happen, and with the help of others, I started it back then. And so I grew into it slowly. For me, the essence of Ananda Yoga is actually the marvelous, deep awareness that it can bring to you. You start on the physical level. And many times in the spiritual world, real perception gets mixed with lots of fantasy. Master is telling me this, and Divine Mother is telling me this. But how much is your fantasy? How much is it really authentic? For us, it's very important, for us Germans. And it can very easily be a little bit muddy, and you don't know, is that real or is that my own stuff? And Hatha Yoga starts very concrete. It starts with the body. You start with the body, and from there, Swami Kriyananda teaches. He says, go into the body as if you felt every muscle. And from there, you take your awareness deeper, and you actually can feel the energy. You can start to feel the chakras and inner, deeper things that are, they are real, because they are, just as the body is real, these things are real. And so we take people just into deeper awareness of what they are. That is the main thing. And each asana expresses the qualities of the soul outward. As you work with chakras, you stimulate the body through the physical asana, and being stimulated, the chakra is felt much more easily, as if you were just sitting, let me feel it. And so you really stimulate and you feel, and it's real. It's not something you imagine. That is, for me, the most important. Of course, it's important for me that the students go toward Raja Yoga. I mean, Ananda Yoga is meant as Swami Kriyananda teaches, to bring like a big river, thousands of people do yoga, few meditate. Just bring people toward meditation, because that's where we want to go. The deepest experiences are in meditation.
It's been a long time. Every year you spend some time in India, or as often as you can. There the hermit comes up, and you spend some time, weeks, maybe a month or two, up there in the Himalayas, and then you come back here. So, are you finding a balance? The hermit is finding a balance with the married man, the community man, the teacher, the counselor, the friend.
Exactly as you said, I need this. It recharges me as nothing else. When I'm in the Himalayas, I also spiritually, I reach inner spaces that usually I don't. And I get recharged, like in the Badrinath especially, and I get inner gifts that nourish me throughout the whole life. And always the swamis and sadhus have invited me to stay, and always I feel my dharma is here. So I recharge, and then I am here. I'm here. I still have a lot to learn, because also here in community I tend to be a little bit withdrawn, and I know this is because it's sort of easy for me. But my growth is with people, and I'm still work in progress.
Which brings us to the last question. So there are lots of young people now also drawn to this path. I'm sure they can feel Swami's spirit. They come here, they start meditation groups where they are. Is there anything that you would like to say to them, to encourage them?
Probably you might feel, as I have felt when I was young, as I said in the beginning, all this seems so high, and who am I? And I was back then I was full of anger, for example, and criticism. And just one thing that Swami Kriyananda gave to me was he believed in me. He believed in my deeper and better side, and that I try to give to the young ones and also to yoga students. They all think, who am I to be something? Believe in yourself. There is something so beautiful in you. There is something so divine in you. And if you live the right lifestyle with other devotees and meditation and practices, this will come out. And I really know it's true. From our surface that can be very crusty and small, the beauty slowly comes out. And if you just believe in yourself and step by step do these things, and if you can live in a community, it will help you totally. The ride will not always be easy, because growing is not easy. I mean, it's just as it is, but it's the best thing you can do. I mean, dedicate yourself to, believe in your soul, dedicate yourself to God, and it's the best life you can live, absolutely.
Thank you very much, Jayadev.
Welcome. Namaste.
Namaste.